You ever hang something up that just makes you feel home? For me, that was my Red Sox flag. Bold red background, navy lettering, classic White Sox stitched in the center. I hung it with pride on the front porch of my very beige, very HOA-approved colonial. It flapped gently above my rocking chair like a symbol of sanity in a neighborhood that resembled a retirement brochure. I'd lived in Whispering Cedars for 3 years. Quiet cul-de-sac, good neighbors, the occasional rogue trash can left out too long. We weren't exactly rebels. I mowed on Saturdays, edged the lawn like a good little homeowner, even pressure washed the driveway every spring. But apparently, that flag was too far. It arrived on a Tuesday, a thick, smugly folded letter in my mailbox, topped with the dreaded HOA header, Helvetica font, gold embossed seal, the works. I knew it was serious before I even opened it, because it smelled faintly of passive aggression and lavender hand sanitizer. Dear Mr. Patterson, your residence is currently in violation of Section 7.3.2 of the Whispering Cedars Homeowners Association Guidelines. The unauthorized display of a non-neutral colored banner, i.e., the Red Sox flag, on your porch is not in alignment with the community's established aesthetic standards. Specifically, the red and navy palette clashes with the approved earth-toned hues designed to maintain visual harmony. You are hereby fined $75 and given 5 business days to remove the item in question. I stood on the porch rereading it, my mouth half open, flag flapping cheerfully behind me as if it knew. Aesthetic harmony? This was a neighborhood of beige siding, beige garage doors, and beige flower pots. My house looked like a sad latte. My flag was the only pop of color for 6 blocks. And who signs a violation letter with warmest regards? Karen, of course. Karen D. Whitmore, our HOA president. The woman who once fined a neighbor for having 2 pumpkins on their porch in October. Festive clutter, she called it. The woman who drives a pearl white Lexus and parks at a perfect 45-degree angle every time. The woman whose lawn is suspiciously artificial and whose Christmas lights are regulated to exactly 3 strands, white only. I snapped a photo of the violation notice, texted it to my brother with the caption, "Breaking news, red is now illegal." He responded with, "Vive la résistance," and I laughed. But then I stopped, because that's when the idea started. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, I tried to reason. Rookie mistake. That Saturday, during her usual HOA patrol, neighborhood walk, I caught Karen strolling past my house, clipboard in hand, dressed in a salmon pink pantsuit like she was running for office in 1997. I waved. She didn't wave back. "Hey, Karen," I called out. "Got a sec?" She turned with a tight smile. "Mr. Patterson, I assume this is about your recent notice." "Yeah, about that." I gestured to the flag. "It's just a Red Sox banner. Not, like, a neon beer sign. Thought it'd be okay?" Her lips pursed like she'd just bitten into a lemon. "It's not the subject, Mr. Patterson. It's the color scheme. We've worked very hard to preserve a cohesive aesthetic in Whispering Cedars. Bold primaries can be jarring." "Karen," I said, trying not to sound sarcastic, "it's a porch flag, not a Banksy mural." "It sets a precedent," she sniffed. "If we allow this, next someone's flying a hot pink flamingo banner or a political slogan. We must maintain standards. Is there a list of approved colors?" "There's a suggested palette in the Appendix C of the bylaws. I can forward it to you. Let me guess. Beige, taupe, and oatmeal?" "I prefer to call them timeless naturals," she said with a tight smile, then turned on her orthopedic heels and walked away. I stood there, staring at her back, the ridiculousness of it sinking in. A flag. A baseball flag. Meanwhile, her husband's got a concrete eagle in their yard that looks like it was stolen from a state capitol. But that's okay, because it's in heritage gray. I started getting texts from neighbors. Seriously? They fined you for the flag? Karen needs a hobby. Don't take it down, it looks awesome. That's when I realized people noticed. And not in a bad way. My little splash of rebellion had become a neighborhood conversation piece. A tiny act of color in a sea of HOA oppression. But to Karen, I was public enemy number 1. Day 5 came and went. I didn't take it down. Instead, I bought an even bigger flag. Karen drove by twice that morning. Once slowly, once while jotting something down. My fine doubled to $150. I laughed because somewhere in the back of my mind, that first spark had caught fire. I wasn't just going to fight back. I was going to paint the whole damn stadium red. There's a special kind of satisfaction that comes from knowing you're annoying the exact right person. Every morning I sipped my coffee on the porch. Red Sox flag flapping like a battle standard above me, while Karen slow rolled past in her Lexus, practically grinding her teeth to dust. I could feel her disapproval from 30 yards away. After the second violation notice arrived, this one with bold red ink, the HOA version of DEFCON 2, I decided to lean in. Hard. If I was going to be the neighborhood's designated rebel, I might as well make it performance art. First up, Operation Color Bomb. I read the bylaws. Really read them. Page by excruciating page. Appendix C, the Color Harmony Reference Guide, was a masterpiece of overreach. It was essentially a Pantone hostage note. You could have warm sand, pebble mist, or Dover taupe, but God help you if you strayed into cranberry or nautical navy. But here's the thing. Nowhere in the rules did it say I couldn't plant flowers, or use decorative pillows, or paint my Adirondack chair. So I did. Bright red geraniums in the front flower bed, navy blue cushions on the porch swing, a mailbox decal that said, Home Sweet Fenway. I even swapped out my garden gnome's hat with a miniature socks cap. By the end of the week, my house looked like the front lawn of a 4th of July parade float. Tasteful? Maybe not. Legal? Technically, yes. Karen was apoplectic. I got another letter. Mr. Patterson, while your recent updates fall within the letter of the guidelines, they challenge the spirit of Whispering Cedars' visual standards. We urge you to reconsider. Urge me? Urge me? Lady, this isn't a UN peace resolution. You fined me for a baseball flag. Now I'm just getting started. My neighbor Tom, a retired Marine and lifelong Yankees fan, we don't talk about it, offered me a beer and said, "Didn't know you had this kind of pettiness in you." I didn't either, I said. But apparently, beige brings it out. Karen responded by holding an emergency board meeting. Of course I showed up. She had set up the community clubhouse with rows of folding chairs, a full-color PowerPoint, and a meticulously labeled manila folder for each attendee. I took one, flipped it open, and nearly burst out laughing. She had printed photos of my porch from 3 different angles, all dated and time-stamped. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice smooth and sugary like a Stepford TED Talk. "As you're aware, we have a recent situation involving non-neutral decor that may threaten the peaceful aesthetic we've worked so hard to cultivate." She clicked the next slide. My flag, blown up to about 4 feet wide on the screen behind her. It looked glorious. Someone in the back whispered, "Is that a Red Sox banner?" Nice. Karen ignored them. "Now, I'm not here to shame anyone," she continued, which is exactly what you say when you're here to shame someone. "But we must maintain our standards." I raised my hand. "Yes, Mr. Patterson?" "I have a question," I said. "Is there a specific clause about the number of red flowers I'm allowed to plant? Or is there a maximum patriotism level I've exceeded?" A few chuckles rippled through the room. Karen's smile tightened. "We're here to talk about decor cohesion, not sarcasm." "Well, cohesion seems to mean looks exactly like Karen's house," I said. And not everyone thinks beige is the pinnacle of beauty. Now the room was really paying attention. A few people nodded. Karen fumbled her clicker and jumped 3 slides ahead, revealing a graphic titled Visual Harmony Index, Threat Levels. There were actual color-coded bars. I couldn't make this up if I tried. I didn't win the meeting. Karen railroaded through a vague motion about increased decor oversight and closed with a passive-aggressive thank you for everyone's willingness to reconsider their choices. But the seed had been planted. After the meeting, people started asking questions. Mark, from 2 doors down, asked if I had a copy of the color chart. Cynthia on the corner, who'd once gotten fined for having a lavender wreath, said she was considering painting her door something rebellious, like sage. I started compiling names. Because here's the thing about HOAs. They love to hide behind the illusion of power. But power in these tiny suburban kingdoms comes from numbers, from votes. And I had time. I had motivation. And I had a friend at the ballpark. Enter. My cousin Joey. Joey runs media ops for the local AAA team, the Pineville Pioneers. Their games are broadcast on regional cable, and every home game ends with the same Jumbotron cycle of local ads. Plumbing services, a landscaping company, a law office with bad Photoshop. It's cheap, cheerful, and mostly ignored, but not for long. Can I rent one of those Jumbotron ads? I asked Joey over wings one night. He shrugged. Sure, it's like $500 for a 30-second slot. Depends on what you want to show. I smiled. Oh, just a little PSA. Step 1 was finding a way to buy the ad without it being traced directly back to me. I didn't need Karen filing a defamation suit over my porch appearing in HD. So I did what any overly invested suburbanite would do. I created an LLC, Color Liberty Enterprises, LLC, filed online, registered to a P.O. box, innocuous enough to sound like a paint brand or a freedom-loving tax shelter. I used it to purchase a 30-second ad to run at next Friday's home game. The file I submitted? A single static image. My house. Full frontal, thanks for the photos, Karen. Flag flying proud. Underneath, bold letters in white, support freedom of color, say no to HOA tyranny. Colorliberty.org. Colorliberty.org, by the way, redirected to a blank page. I wasn't trying to start a movement, just a fire. Game night arrived like Judgment Day. Hot dogs, foam fingers, and the scent of freshly cut grass. Pineville Field was packed. It was a theme night, local heroes appreciation, which meant discounted tickets, a flyover from the fire department drone squad, and the perfect cover for my suburban coup. My cousin Joey texted me from the control booth at 6:38 p.m. Your ad is queued for end of 6th inning, right after the bathroom remodel guy who screams. Perfect. I had front row seats. Not literally. Those are expensive, but metaphorically. I sat dead center along the first base line, Sox cap on, nachos in hand, and a few key allies seated beside me. Tom the Yankee, still my guy, Cynthia with the lavender wreath, and Marcus, who had once tried to install a solar-powered fountain and received a 14-page cease and desist from Karen. We'd all been bitten by the beige beast. So this ad, Cynthia whispered, eyes glittering with mischief, what exactly does it show? I just grinned. Justice. Justice. The game was solid. Pioneers up 3-1, but the real action came when the 6th inning ended. The stadium lights dimmed just slightly, the crowd settled, and the Jumbotron came alive. First up, Bob's Bathroom Blitz. We'll blow your pipes, Bob screamed at the camera. A local legend. Then, my moment. The screen faded to a high-res image of my porch. The Red Sox flag billowed majestically. Below it, bold white letters gleamed across the massive screen. Support freedom of color. Say no to HOA tyranny *. Colorliberty.org *. The stadium went silent for half a second. Then some glorious stranger, let out a whistle. And then chaos, applause, laughter, actual cheers. A chant started somewhere behind third base. Let it fly, let it fly. Phones came out. I watched people zoom in, snap pics, share. I pulled mine out and refreshed Twitter. Within 15 minutes, #OTyranny was trending locally. Within 30, it was trending nationally. Turns out the internet loves a good HOA horror story, especially one with visual evidence. By the time I got home, the tweet of the Jumbotron had hit 28K retweets. The caption? My friend's HOA fined him for a baseball flag, so he bought stadium ad space. Be like him. It wasn't just going viral, it was going nuclear. The next morning, I opened my door to find not a violation notice, but a reporter. James Patterson? She asked. With Channel 5? I blinked. Maybe. I'm here about the stadium ad and the HOA flag controversy. We'd love a quick interview. I blinked again, processing the fact that Karen was about to have a very bad day. I can give you 5 minutes, I said, stepping onto the porch. I made sure the flag was flapping high in the background. Cinematic, really. The segment aired that night. My clip was short, just me saying something like, "Homeowners deserve freedom of expression, especially when it's a flag about a baseball team, not some extremist cause. This is America. If we can't fly the Red Sox, what's left?" Cut to Karen. Oh yes, she agreed to speak on record. In pearls, with a very tight bun and tighter smile, she said, "While we support patriotism and hobbies, our community guidelines exist to promote visual cohesion. Mr. Patterson's choices disrupt that cohesion." Bad move, Karen. The internet dragged her to filth. Memes bloomed like spring dandelions. My favorite was her face, photoshopped onto the villain from Footloose, with the caption, "No fun, no flags, no color." A Change.org petition popped up. Restore color freedom to Whispering Cedars. 10,000 signatures in 2 days. I got emails from flag companies offering sponsorships. Someone even mailed me a platinum flagpole. But my favorite part? The calls. Apparently, the HOA line was public record. So were Karen's office hours. The board was flooded with complaints from people all over the country, demanding they free the flag. One guy said he'd drive down from Boston and plant a Red Sox flag on every lawn. Another offered legal help. For free. Karen went silent. No more notices, no more patrols. Her Lexus didn't make its daily lap. Instead, we got a new HOA-wide email marked Urgent Community Clarification. Dear residents, while we appreciate the passion displayed recently regarding exterior decor, we would like to reiterate that the HOA is a volunteer-run body, and personal attacks are unwarranted. That said, the board is open to revisiting certain aesthetic restrictions in light of recent events. A vote will be proposed at the next meeting. I couldn't help myself. I hit reply all. Happy to propose one. Motion to allow porch flags of any color. Also, motion to allow joy, pride, and non-beige living. Tom texted me. You're gonna get assassinated. But instead, I got more neighbors knocking on my door. Quietly, one by one, thanking me, asking how they could help. So I told them. Because while the Jumbotron was flashy, it was just the opening pitch. I had a real plan. One that involved signatures, a little legal jujitsu, and something called a charter removal clause. Karen had weaponized the rules, but now I was going to use them to take her down. If the Jumbotron ad was the spark, The fallout was the explosion. The HOA tried to sweep it under their beige rugs, but you can't put out a wildfire with passive-aggressive memos, especially when it's being live tweeted by thousands of Red Sox fans and bored suburban dads with lawn vendettas. In the days after the broadcast, Whispering Cedars wasn't just a subdivision. It was a battleground of aesthetics and authority. And Karen? She was the reluctant general of a retreating army. Meanwhile, I was out there gathering troops. Petition time. According to the bylaws, the same ones Karen clung to like a life raft, any homeowner could propose a charter amendment with 25% of resident signatures. And if you got 51%, you could motion to remove and replace board members entirely. Democracy, baby. So I printed out 2 crisp HOA legal petitions. Amendment 14A. Homeowners may display decorative flags or banners of any color or theme, provided they do not contain hate speech or explicit material. Amendment 14B. Motion to remove the current HOA board, citing abuse of power, selective enforcement, and gross overreach. Guess which one got more signatures? I hit the pavement. Clipboards, charm, and just enough righteous fury to get people nodding before I even spoke. The funny part, even the people who didn't care about baseball were furious on principle. I got fined for painting my shutters sage green, one woman grumbled as she signed. She said it looked mossy. Like, what does that even mean? She made me remove my wind chimes, another neighbor said. Said they were a sound nuisance. I live next to a guy with 3 yappy chihuahuas. No complaints there. Even a few former Karen supporters defected. She used to be reasonable, said Mr. Eddings, a retired dentist who once co-chaired the HOA Finance Committee. Then she got that second term and turned into Napoleon with a haircut. In less than a week, I had 48% of the neighborhood on board. Close, but not quite there. That's when fate intervened. And by fate, I mean Karen's husband, Bill. Now, Bill is a strange bird. Quiet, pale, always seems like he's halfway into a nap. But apparently, Bill had a private Twitter account where well, let's just say he was not subtle about his opinions. Someone, bless their soul, found it. He had tweeted, and I quote, "My wife's out here finding people for colors while our garage looks like a storage unit exploded. HOA equals horrible, oppressive authority." It went viral. That tweet was the match that lit the kindling. The community howled. Within hours, I had 5 more signatures shoved under my door with sticky notes that said, "Add me," and "She has to go." That night, I submitted the paperwork via certified mail and hand-delivered copies to the HOA Dropbox, just to watch the security camera catch the moment. I even attached a courtesy flag print cover sheet, because I'm polite like that. The emergency HOA meeting was scheduled within 48 hours. Let me set the scene. The Whispering Cedars clubhouse had never seen so many bodies. People were shoulder to shoulder, some even spilling out the doors. Folding chairs were dragged in from garages. Someone brought popcorn. At the front sat Karen, flanked by her dwindling board. Hair perfect, lips pursed, blazer that probably cost more than my lawnmower. But even she could sense it. The tide had turned. "I'll now call this emergency meeting to order," she began, gavel in hand. "As you're aware, a petition has been submitted challenging both decor restrictions and the leadership of this board." There were murmurs, whispers. Someone coughed dictatorship into their elbow. Karen tried to keep it together. "Before we proceed, I'd like to clarify that this board has acted within the bounds of our governing documents at all times. And objection," I said, standing. She blinked. "This isn't a court, Mr. Patterson." "No, but you've been ruling like a judge, jury, and style executioner. May I speak as the petitioner?" Grudgingly, she nodded. I stepped forward, holding up a poster board. On it, a full-color print of her husband's tweet. I didn't even need to say a word. The room broke into laughter, groans, even a few slow claps. Look, I don't care what team you support, what color your garden gnome wears, or if your flowers clash with your mulch, I said, turning to face the crowd. But when one person gets to dictate how everyone else lives under the guise of harmony, that's not community, that's control. And it's not what Whispering Cedars was supposed to be. I held up the petition papers. Majority signatures. Verified. And guess what? That means we vote. Karen tried one last Hail Mary. This is a coordinated smear campaign, she hissed. Driven by internet outrage and, what did you call it? Color freedom? Ridiculous. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Tom stood up. Let's vote. And we did. Paper ballots? Public tally? Legal observers? AKA my cousin Joey and Cynthia's husband Gary, who wore a tie just for the occasion. Final count. Yes to charter amendments. 141. No to charter amendments. 39. Yes to remove the board. 133. No to remove the board. 47. Game, set, massacre. Karen stood like a dethroned monarch, stunned and silent. She tried to say something, probably a speech about dignity and order, but her voice cracked and she sat down instead. She didn't even gavel out, just quietly gathered her clipboard, stood, and left the room to a smattering of polite claps and one guy whisper, yelling, "Don't let the door hit you on the way out." You'd think that after being dethroned in front of half the neighborhood and getting ratioed on a citywide HOA subreddit, Karen might retreat quietly, maybe take up pottery, or finally read that book club novel she made everyone pretend to like. Nope, she doubled down. The day after the emergency vote, I woke up to find a new letter in my mailbox, not from the HOA. Karen no longer had that power. This was from Karen D. Whitmore, private citizen, written on monogram stationery and sealed with a wax stamp shaped like a tree. I swear to God. Dear Mr. Patterson, while you may find joy in public spectacle, I urge you to consider the long-term damage you've caused to this community's reputation. Your actions, fueled by internet mobs and juvenile theatrics, have lowered property values and emboldened a culture of disrespect. I hope you can live with the consequences of your victory. Warmest regards, Karen D. Whitmore. Ah, yes. Nothing screams maturity like sending hate mail in cursive. But the timing couldn't have been worse for her. Because that same morning, Good Morning America reached out. Apparently, the Jumbotron stunt had reached the desk of a bored intern who pitched it as suburban revolt when HOAs go too far. Within 48 hours, I had a camera crew on my lawn and a producer asking if I could stand next to the flag and look triumphant. I agreed, but only if Tom and Cynthia could be in the shot. We overthrew the beige regime together, I told them. We all get credit. The segment aired the following Tuesday. It opened with sweeping drone footage of Whispering Cedars, painfully symmetrical homes, identical mulch beds, and, smack in the middle, my house, with the flag proudly waving. They interviewed Karen, too. Bless them. She stood at the edge of her lawn, arms crossed, pearls gleaming like tiny, angry moons, and said, I was simply enforcing the guidelines we all agreed to. If people don't like rules, they shouldn't live in an HOA community. Cue the smash cut to me sipping coffee on the porch with a smirk, saying, funny thing, the rules also said we could vote her out, and we did. Twitter exploded. Again. Hashtag flag of shame. Hashtag Homeowner. Hashtag free the flags. Hashtag not my board. Outrage. A TikTok influencer made a parody video reenacting the HOA meeting with sock puppets. Someone launched a merch line with my porch photo on it, captioned, Visual Anarchy lives here. Even John Oliver did a 60-second blurb on the war on beige. Karen was famous for all the wrong reasons. I heard through the grapevine that she tried to file a cease and desist against the merch guy. He sent back a flag that said no. In Comic Sans, the board didn't just get replaced, it got remade. We held elections, and for once, people cared. I didn't run. God, no. But Cynthia did, and Tom volunteered for treasurer. We passed the flag amendment, relaxed the yard decor policy, and implemented a new rule requiring 2/3 board approval before issuing community-wide fines. Radical, I know. But my favorite change? We added a monthly newsletter called the Cedar Sentinel. First issue cover headline: Color returns to Whispering Cedars, the revolution will be flagged. We even printed it in full color, just to twist the knife. Karen, meanwhile, started a, quote, concerned citizens Facebook group. She posted long screeds about moral decay and flag pollution, but the only other member was her sister, who lived 2 counties over. She put her house up for sale in late October. Word is, she's moving to a gated community with a stricter HOA, one that bans Halloween decorations and limits driveway width. Bon voyage. Oh, and remember the stadium? The Pioneers reached out last week. They're doing a community colors night next season. They asked if I'd throw out the first pitch. I said yes, I'm going to wear a beige shirt, just to be petty. But underneath, Red Sox jersey, flag cape. And maybe, just maybe, a gnome wearing sunglasses and a smug little smile. I'll say this. Nothing changes the feel of a neighborhood faster than the fall of a petty tyrant. Within a month of Karen's departure, Whispering Cedars looked like a different place, literally. Yards that once bowed to the beige gods began sprouting subtle bursts of rebellion, navy door wreaths, red tulips, and yes, even a Dallas Cowboys flag. We don't talk about that one, but progress is progress. Tom hung a live, laugh lawn sign ironically on his fence. Cynthia painted her shutters lavender again. Marcus finally installed that solar fountain, and the sound of gently trickling water became the unofficial soundtrack of the new Whispering Cedars. We didn't go full anarchy. There was still a sense of decorum, but now? It was choice, not coercion. The new board, affectionately dubbed the Color Guard, actually listened. We had meetings with snacks, actual discussion, and 0 PowerPoint slides about visual harmony threat levels. People showed up without dread. Ideas got tossed around. We even voted to allow themed decor during holidays, as long as it wasn't obnoxiously inflatable, though someone did sneak in a 10-foot-tall turkey at Thanksgiving. It mysteriously disappeared one night and reappeared in Karen's old driveway. The neighborhood still whispers about it like it was an urban legend. But the real moment, the one that felt like we'd made it, came in the spring. It was a Saturday morning. Warm breeze. Birds chirping. The kind of day suburban calendars are made for. I was sipping coffee on my porch when a young couple walked by, pushing a stroller. They stopped, smiled, and pointed at my flag. "I love your porch," the woman said. "We just moved in last week. Heard there was a thing with the HOA?" I laughed. "Oh, there was a thing, a whole thing." Her husband chuckled. "We read about it online. You're the flag guy, right?" "The baseball ad?" I nodded sheepishly. "Guilty as charged." They waved and moved on, and I sat there a moment longer, watching the flag dance in the breeze like it was proud of itself. And maybe it was, because the truth is I didn't set out to start a movement. I just wanted to fly my damn Red Sox flag without being fined by a woman whose taste in paint swatches made sand look exciting. But when you shine a light on nonsense long enough, people see it for what it is. Petty tyranny, dressed up in bylaws and pastel cardigans. And what beat it? A flag. A Jumbotron. A fake LLC. But mostly a neighborhood that finally said, You know what? No more. To celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the Great Color Uprising, we threw a block party. No dress code. No HOA forms. Just grills, music, and a surprisingly competitive cornhole tournament. Cynthia baked cupcakes with tiny flags on them, all different. Tom made t-shirts that said, "One Nation Under a New Board," with a cartoon of Karen's gavel cracking in half. Even Bill, yes, that Bill showed up, solo, carrying a six-pack and wearing a Free the Flags pin on his collar. He stuck around all night, laughing more than I'd ever seen. By the time the sun dipped below the rooftops, the sky was glowing pink and orange and crimson, a palette that would have given Karen hives. And I swear, every porch on the block had something colorful waving or hanging or glowing softly. We weren't just celebrating a flag. We were celebrating the right to not match. So yeah, it may sound silly to some, fighting an HOA over a piece of cloth. But ask anyone who's lived under a regime of arbitrary fines and ornamental tyranny. This was never about the flag. It was about control, about voice. And we got ours back. The flag still flies on my porch, a little faded maybe, wind-worn and proud. And every time I walk out the front door, I smile. Not just because I see it, but because I get to see it. And nobody's sending me letters anymore. Only thank you notes.